So once again, our quest for a giant non-typical here in the Hunter Classic continues with our return trip to Timber Gold Trails. And for the last month or so, regardless of map, our mule deer luck has been absolutely insane with a whole bunch of rares and some massive typicals hitting the ground. But for a while now, we haven't had much in the way of big non-typicals. So hopefully today's the day that changes, and we're going to try to help switch it up by doing something we've never done before. This may be an abject disaster, but we're going to fast travel here and hunt our way south along the river as opposed to doing the inverse. I have no idea if this is going to work out, but we're going to fast travel over here and we're going to find out exactly what this does for us. Something told it was a grizzly bear, so not exactly an insane start, but we'll make our way down and get moving. And it looks like we'll be starting off this hunt with a potentially interesting track job. 110 to 135 kilo buck fled through here 5 to 12 minutes ago. So maybe coming over here was a decent idea. That's 5 kilo away from the max, so certainly could be a decent buck. And he definitely looks to be by himself, so hopefully it's not too bad a deal. And so long as he doesn't go through too much tall grass, we should be fine. I think we might have him coming in here. We're in a horrible spot, but I can hear footsteps. There's a buck there. That could maybe be it. Certainly not a massive one, but a solid looking deer. Wanted to maybe get the spotting estimate, but that's not happening. That completely made the game freeze for a second. That was rather odd. And I heard what sounded like fleeing footsteps. Maybe that was the aspect of the game completely freezing. I have never seen that before. But that was indeed our buck. So the thing about it is, we're now down closer to where we would typically start a hunt anyway. So track this guy, a 170 scoring buck, so not a bad one, down here pretty much to the Y in the river. And now what I guess we'll do is try to loop back up around, kind of get back on track, and get down towards the double stand there. And actually, maybe that did work out, because he did lead us right to a whole group of mule deer bucks. Now there should be 5 here, and I'm only seeing 4. There's the 5th one there. Don't think it was big, but real quick, just try to get any kind of assessment. Yeah, he's nothing special, so let's get this one. I think they're at a range where they're going to hear this. And especially if we don't get that shot in the right area, that's certainly not going to help. That one hadn't spooked, so we might have been able to get away with that. Now that one's looking at us, but he's nothing special. That might be the other one there that we were looking at. And ultimately, definitely should have just taken the shot as opposed to trying to get eyes on everything, because that's maybe liver. It wasn't that far back, but that's going to require some more tracking now. And luckily, at least, not a bad track. So another kind of decent buck, probably closer to 150. That was stomach intestine, so even behind the liver. 145 for him. And now we are kind of officially where we pretty much drew to end up, right here at the point there in the Y. So since we're doing the inverse of what we typically would, I guess we'll just work our way down to here. And I guess once we get to this point, then we'll look at where to fast travel to. But interesting how this has worked out. We've seen our fair share of mule deer bucks already, just no monsters yet. Now we're getting a little somewhere. Got a big frame buck. Weird estimate, 155 to 185. And actually another buck had just grunted probably somewhere right over in there. So what we're going to try to do is get into calling range for these ones, because that's another group and there's probably 2 more in there that we haven't seen. And we have some distance to cover to get to that. We really got to get to about 200. But as long as they're just going to mill around there, we can scoot that direction, get them coming in, and hopefully this buck over on this side either gets here way before them or maybe way after them so we can see them both. Well, this has officially not gone to plan. That big buck is way back there behind all of these, and I think frankly, we're just going to have to hope that somehow he doesn't spook from this. That was a little far forward, but it dropped him. What are the odds that somehow he doesn't spook? Actually, so far, we've gotten away with it, and no sign of the buck across the river here. One thing we gotta do is get another arrow knocked. Think we'll be okay for that, and maybe we can at least get like a longer shot with a bow at the bigger buck in the back. And you know, actually, he's back there at about 80. This guy's here at 40. I think as soon as he stops, we're gonna try to get an arrow through his lungs, and that's probably our best chance of getting to see everything. So he's right around 40. Oh, that didn't drop him. Oh, that is such a bummer. It's not a big enough buck to really worry about, but I really want to know what's over on this side. And that's maybe got us all screwed up now for that. And you know, the worst part is, no sign of that other buck whatsoever. I'm really not sure where he got to. So, there's a chance that it was one of the bucks that was with that first group that we shot. They had all scattered, and it's very possible that that just would have been a new trail from one of them. So, we're just going to keep on pressing on here, and maybe we can encounter it later on. And the good news is, at least this time, we single lung this buck, so he won't have gone too far. And I mean, there are just deer everywhere at this point. We've got this buck coming in, a 150 to 180, and we managed to get into this ground blind, but there's a doe on our left, and actually we had another grunt, those tracks there that lit up, no doubt from the group that had the 155 to 185, so that'll take care of that guy. Something else spooked on the right when we shot. Like, we just can't get out of here. Knowing, though, that the best case scenario is that other grunt was the probably like 179, 180, something like that. I think we're just going to keep on moving. However, there's another buck. I think he was in there with him too. I don't even know what's going on. So let's get this one. He'll be maybe pushing 170. Heart shot him 175 even. And then still, we have this long shot one to recover. I will say though, as for the second time we recover a buck that we've tracked and gotten caught back up, our kind of flip it around strategy of fast traveling north and working our way south, it is producing a ton of mule deer sightings. And I think the other good thing, that whole group that ended up spooking there actually when we shot that one, they fled up into this direction. So I think we managed to get pretty much around them, and we're not going to have that same group just being encountered, hitting their tracks, calls and stuff over and over and over again. We should be past them. So not exactly how we drew it up, even with the idea of doing things in the inverts, but we've just fast traveled over to here, which is typically a really good spot, especially later in hunts for mule deer bucks. And it looks like we've got two solos coming in. This little guy here, and then this one behind us that's at least a little bit better. And he's coming in from a weird direction to begin with, so might get the shot when he's there behind the stand. Gonna stop for us. And I guess we just shot to the side of the neck. Speaking of things not quite going to plan, probably gonna be a single lung. And I don't see any other bucks coming in, so might as well go and track them. And then the plan from here is gonna be pretty much work our way up through these lakes. So I want to go past this one, hopefully past all of them, and loop back down around and end at that tent down there. So we'll see just how much to plan that goes, because not much else has. But let's see, did we actually even get a long shot? I see pink blood, so we certainly did. And once again, we have a little tracking to do. And actually, since we're this far around, we might kind of amend that a little bit. Got him shoulder blade and right lung, so just didn't punch through maybe to liver to drop him that way. And we must have just barely missed the neck, but 135 for him. And I think actually what we'll do is just loop around this way and then go and check out all those lakes. I think that'll actually make for a more reasonable path anyway. Plus, it gives us a little bit of chance of Rocky Mountain elk hunting down on this side. It's actually a pretty good area for them. Hopefully there's going to be one there as we go through though. Well, no sign of any Rocky Mountain elk yet, but a couple more bucks coming in. And I'm really not sure like if these are two solos that happen to be in the same area, or if there's other bucks with these that are maybe way further back. This is another situation where we might be able to get away with this. Really don't want to have this again where we don't make the shot. So really taking our time, got him down, and the other one's coming in. I almost feel like I see him moving, but I think that's a tree behind a tree, and I can actually get the binoculars up that high. Yeah, that was just two trees moving. Might have just been a coincidence, two single bucks in the same area. Now he's kind of onto us, so I think we might actually make use of the 10 mil here. Can barely see, but if we pop up quick, there's a bull elk calling. Kind of got other things to worry about. One of those two there, probably. Didn't see how big that one on the left was. It looked okay. We're going to be moving that direction anyway, so that'll probably be fine. And one way or another, we were going to spook stuff when that second buck took off. So, got pretty much everything there. 117 score for him. And as long as it took for this buck to get down here and then spot us, I'm very confident it was just 2 solos in the same area. Single-lunged him and a 133 score. And the next place we're going is pretty much exactly where those bulls fled to, so maybe we can get eyes on them again. We've got yet another one of these bucks. 145 to 175. Just like a little bit below what would you call the big frame for mule deer. Now, interestingly enough, that's not the buck that we've been tracking. The reason I say that is it really matches weight-wise. If we just pick this up right here, that's a 115 to 140 kilo track, and you can see too, fairly fresh. So I'm trying to move around quite slowly. I think it actually spooked when we shot that prior one with the 10 mil. So I'm not so sure he's coming in yet. These tracks, he's probably just kind of walking around, looking over his shoulder and stuff. But at the same time, we don't want to be moving all that fast. So this guy here with at least one decent sized sticker, got him double lung liver and stomach 164. Lots of like solid bucks. Just haven't had that big one yet, and maybe this track will lead us there. And you know, just like the buck at the beginning of the hunt that we tracked, not a special mule deer specimen by any stretch. 135 to 165, stopping there at about 29. Hopefully we can get that shot in there. We can do it quickly enough that can 100% confirm that's him, but considering he had run it a minute ago, I pretty much knew that was going to be the same deer. So time after time, we've had above average bucks. Hopefully as we move down here, because we kind of ended up in tracking that guy on a different path than intended. I want to still get up to those 2 lakes. Hopefully we can encounter something a little bit better. But for the second time tracking a really heavy one, actually led us to about the same weight class buck, around 120 kilo. 153 score makes him even smaller than that first buck. And I guess now we'll just sort of do this in reverse order and go straight up this way. That's a big wolf. 80 to 90 kilo and 16 to 17 score estimate. Oh, are they gonna... This happened one other time too. They're not spooking, they're chasing, I believe. And we're just not gonna get a shot. Man, that is a really nice one. And we're gonna have to go and try to get on the trail. I can't believe that just happened. So long as we just kind of don't push them, eventually we'll catch up to them. Eventually they'll stop chasing, but they're not fun to track when they're actively following something like that. Obviously, we can't just run after them, because eventually we'll spook them and it just becomes a bigger issue. But they're gaining ground as we walk over here. It's just a matter of kind of meeting them in the right spot. I'm like nearly certain this is the right pack. The thing is, I can't see that 80 to 90 kilo one anywhere in here. They're just kind of roaming around though. And I'm pretty sure there was even, yeah, it's actually up ahead. Another one with that. And that fur also matches one that we saw. So he's got to be up here. Just hopefully we can get there without spooking these other ones yet too. Well, this might have been a risky move. But I decided to go ahead and actually hit a wolf call and see what happens. That one's coming in. I don't see our big one yet though. I wonder, can we just kill this? That'll work, but that one's spooked. So that's going to mean if our big one even was coming in, he's going to take off as well. That's probably less than ideal, because other wolves around could actually help us in locating him. 12 CSS, so maybe that's a good sign, but I gotta think he's out of here again. Oh, that's him there. If he just sits still for a second, we can try to get that shot real quick. Just gonna crouch for it. He looks massive. Finally got him. That was not a fun track, and I was hopeful this area might produce it, because I find with wolves, they're so hard to track down, and it's often these open areas with just longer sight lines where you have a chance to take them out. I'm so glad that this didn't turn into an absolute mess. Not sure how long we tracked him, but more importantly, a wolf whose minimum weight estimate is 80 kilo is going to be a really nice one. Hopefully he's up there around 90, and maybe, just maybe, we'll have a potential full body mount as opposed to a skull mount. No doubt, 80 kilo as the floor, we're ending up with at least a skull, but he could be even better than that. That is a massive looking wolf. When the body's that big and the head looks enormous, I think it could be a good sign. He's 84 kilo, double lunged him, gonna be a score of 16.57. I think that's a skull mount for us, which frankly might be the better result because we have our leucistic on the full body platform anyway. But had this been like a 16.8, I think we would have had to have done the full body just because that would have been insane. I really like the red brown too. I think we had a 16.7-ish, something like that, already mounted. But that's a really solid wolf, and after all these hours of struggling, you know, maybe we've used up our mule deer luck for the near future, but getting a massive wolf as we go along works out pretty good in my opinion. So I think, given this steep hill, this is about as good a trophy shot as we can get, and I guarantee we can fast travel right back to the trophy lodge immediately, because we've been chasing that guy for a while. So I'll let the photo upload, it's got that done, and we can go and take a look at him with the mounted skull. Now it seems a couple of textures decided not to load. We've got like a rooster deer here. This isn't a mela, this is a piebald whitetail, but nonetheless, what we now have is a 16.6 wolf skull next to a 16.5. And what's really interesting is the size difference there still. I think they might be at different heights. That's kind of throwing it off a tiny bit, but it's crazy just how much bigger that 16.6 is. But replacing, I think, an old 16.1, that makes a pretty massive difference and a nice little upgrade to our lodge. And it's got me at least considering swapping them out to the main room here and maybe moving our wild boar skulls back. Or maybe we could move stuff around, find a way to display them in the main room with all this other stuff, because I do think it's pretty cool, but I like the tusks on these guys as well. So even though we still haven't had any monster non-typicals to add to our lodge, always nice to upgrade something. And I really like the skull mounts. They're one of my favorite features. We worked so hard on the Roosevelt skulls as we were on the quest for our 400. So now as we're looking for a 400 non-typical mule deer, we can try to add those wolf skulls and maybe grizzly skulls to the lodge as well. But anyways, we have a real weird texture thing with our albino brown bear. That is indeed going to do it for this video. So as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.